The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds.
In Fairfield County, something new comes across my desk every day. Crimes are committed, cases are solved, and a community is made safe by the hardworking employees of the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office.
Welcome to This Week with Sheriff Dave Phelan, a weekly program here on LSN Television. We're also carried by a number of the radio affiliates here in Lancaster. Do appreciate you, the viewers and listeners that join us each and every week. And I'm appreciative of the students here at Fairfield Christian Academy that actually are behind the scenes, put this program together. Our executive producer, Kelly Roberts, does a terrific job lining the guests up, getting questions together, and we appreciate her involvement in the program. Back for a second week, Deputy J.R. Haley. Deputy Haley is our Deputy of the Year, and he's also a member of our SCRAP team, which is an acronym for Street Crime Reduction and Apprehension Program. And glad you could make it back.
Thank you.
And we talked a lot last week about the problems or some of the things you've seen with methamphetamine in our community. And let's start out with the viewers and listeners that may not even know what methamphetamine is. What is meth? And how typically is it used?
Well, it can be used a number of ways. It's snorted, it can be injected, smoked, but what we have here, without getting into the production portion of it, we just want to make the viewers aware of if you see some of these things in combination, you should be concerned, and I think we talked last week that you should probably contact your local law enforcement agency and have somebody come out and take a look. That, you know, when you see these Powerade bottles and these Gatorade bottles, those are a popular choice because they're a little bit thicker plastic. This probably wouldn't be a popular choice being a thin plastic bottle, but when you see these hoses and solids and liquids mixed and different layers of liquids in these bottles, we don't want you handling those things. We want you to just step aside, make a phone call, and let somebody come out and take a look and see what you have. But what you see here is a lot of the components that are commonly found at a meth lab scene.
And for our radio audience out there, you have like Coleman
fuel.
Coleman fuel. You have actually batteries.
Yes.
And then popular items like decongestant.
You have to have cold medicine that contains pseudoephedrine.
Okay.
That's the precursor.
And I think what really sets, in my mind, meth apart from maybe other drugs, this is a drug that people actually can go to get household items that we get every day at the hardware store.
That you see right here.
We see right here, and you can actually make this stuff, unlike heroin or the opiates or the pills that actually have to come in from another source. Yeah. These things are made locally.
Yes, they are.
And I was surprised, like last year, I think we did, or you guys did, about 100 meth labs of this sort.
And I've got some statistics here. 2014, over 1,100 meth labs in the state of Ohio. We were number 2 in the country.
In the state of Ohio, number 2? Wow.
Yes. And a few other things that I have here. When talking about the pseudoephedrine, you know, there's 2 states in the country that have made pseudoephedrine a scheduled drug, and that's Oregon and Mississippi.
Okay.
And I believe conversation that I had here not too long ago that when that was made a scheduled drug, their meth labs dropped 85%.
So that would be something that the state legislature needs to look at, right?
Across the country, I would say so, yes.
Right. Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
It's had that dramatic of an increase on it. And you know, we look at the number of meth labs that we did here in Fairfield County, and I've often said this, that Fairfield County is no worse than any other area. But I think what we've done here is we have things like what you guys do. We have a tactical team that addresses this. We have a major crimes unit. We do a lot of publicity, let the community know what's going on. Because by any measure, Fairfield County still is a safe and secure community, but we have really put drug enforcement about the top of the food chain as far as our enforcement.
Yes.
So this would be something that someone might find in a ditch or someone.
Yeah. This isn't the real thing, but,
No.
but what we've put together here is what looks like a one-pot reaction vessel. And again, you know, I can't stress that if you see the layers here with the solids and the liquids, or even multi-layered liquids, and you don't know what it is, please don't touch it.
Call us.
Call us and let us come out and deal with it. We have ways of dealing with this stuff and testing it to see what it is, and packaging it so that it's, you know, that we can get rid of it and dispose of it safely.
And especially during the production of this can be very hazardous. I can recall, was it in Logan a few years ago, where someone actually caught themselves on fire and things like that?
And you know, you've got gases that are produced during this process, and we'll start off with ammonia gas. That could be present in a meth lab, and at 300 parts per million, it becomes hazardous to life and health. Another gas that we have is hydrogen chloride acid gas that's produced. That is hazardous to life and health at 50 parts per million. So the way Dennis Lowe explains it, and he's with BCI, he's the guy when it comes to meth labs. Put yourself in a room with 1 million ping pong balls, and 50 of those is all that it takes of the million for it to be hazardous to life and health.
So what happens when you go into a house, you go into an apartment, and you find all these products as part of the decontamination, or what happens beyond the part, or once you get involved in the crime scene?
Usually, you know, or hopefully, I guess, we have the information leading up to going to this location that we're dealing with a potential meth lab.
Okay.
And once we're inside, we've got this little device. And I'll turn that on. It goes through a little process here. But this is a combustible gas indicator. It won't tell you what it is, but if we take this thing into an atmosphere, it will tell us whether we should turn and run, or whether we're okay to be in that area. It'll give you an oxygen level to make sure that the oxygen level is, you know, fit to breathe. And then if there's any hazardous gases in the air, this thing will go off like an alarm.
Okay.
So that's what we have. This is a nice tool to have. You know, and you got to be careful with this stuff because you don't want to breathe it. When talking about the hydrogen chloride acid gas, what happens when you breathe that, it mixes with the moisture in your lungs, and at that point turns to hydrochloric acid.
Oh my.
So that's acid that is forming in your lungs and will scar that tissue in your lungs. And then prolonged exposure to this stuff is going to cause respiratory issues. And some of what's present here can be cancer causing.
Wow. And you brought us some of the things that you guys suit up for when you go into
we have what we have here is this is a great suit, because not only is it it's chemical resistant, but it's also got a Nomex lining, so it's also fire retardant. And this is a good suit to use for what we do. It's you know, it's important to stay protected. And then right here we've got a set of chemical boots that we would use. I didn't bring some gloves, and we've got some other stuff that we use.
Respirator there.
But we've got what's called an SCBA here, which is a self-contained breathing apparatus, and this is the harness for that. You've got some hoses coming off here. Sorry about that. There's a part of this function where I got to block this inlet for it to go on, and then I'll shut it off. But We'll just let that run. Sorry about that. But this is the harness, and the tank mounts in this harness, and that provides us our own clean air when we're going into these atmospheres. And then the hoses connect to the mask here, and then inside the mask.
Can you hold that up a little bit so our audience
Yeah,
can take a
that's the
look?
clean air that we breathe. So this is the harness here. These go over your shoulders. You've got a gauge here so that you can monitor how much air is still left in your tank. So when you're getting low, if you're going to be in these things for a long period of time, you may have to take a break and swap tanks.
So what is the cleanup process?
It all depends on how much waste you have.
Hope we're not going to go off here.
I can get this thing to stop, I think. I apologize.
That's all right. That's all right.
We'll just set this thing aside down here. So,
So how long does it take to clean up a location?
you know, it depends on how much waste that you have. I think,
Okay.
I think those, the most recent one we did, it looks like those guys were probably 4 hours maybe.
Wow.
4.5.
And so what you might find in a location, just so our listeners and viewers understand this, you have this is referred to as a pot, right?
One pot.
One pot. And you might find 10 of these, 5 of them. And what's the most you've ever found?
I knew you were going to ask that question. It was.
I remember one, and it was just, they were everywhere, weren't they?
160
Yeah,
at one scene,
I was gonna
maybe.
say,
It was in that ballpark.
Wow.
So yeah, you know, again to the viewers, you want to stay away from this stuff because it's bad news and can be very hazardous to your health. You don't want to be breathing this, and you know, when this process is going on inside a home, all this stuff is airborne, and you know, especially when you've got young children, you certainly don't want them in this atmosphere and breathing these gases and being around this stuff.
Right. So, you know, at some point then you're able to decontaminate and the area is safe to re-enter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. You want to ventilate.
For our, we're almost out of time here, but for the listeners and viewers that missed the last week's program, there is a tip line number, and it's 740-653-5224 if you see anything suspicious, those type of things, or just call your local law enforcement agency and you guys will be out there.
Yep. Be glad to help.
Yeah. And again, before we go off, what's some warning signs? If someone's out there, obviously if they find one of these in the yard, they find one, don't touch it, call us right away. But if a neighbor starts seeing something suspicious, what would be some things that they might see?
Well, again, you know, you may have the odors present. Kind of the same thing, you know, there's a lot of traffic coming and going. Maybe individuals showing up with backpacks, bags in their hands.
Okay.
You know, maybe bringing the materials to the scene.
Great.
You know, I mean, that may be tough to tell whether or not they're bringing groceries into the home or they're bringing materials to manufacture methamphetamine, but you know, it's along the same lines that you're going to see a lot of traffic coming and going, and then the odors mainly.
We're about out of time.
Okay.
With us this week
Thank you,
is J.R. Haley, our scrap deputy, and also the deputy of the year within the Fairfield County Sheriff's Office. Well, the clock on the wall says we've got to go. Until next week, same time, same place. God bless, and we'll see you right here.
1929 in Chicago, a gentleman by the name of Marion Wade, a former minor league baseball player, started the company. It was just a moth-proofing company then. In 1952, it expanded to carpet cleaning and pioneered what is now called outsourcing. And the Sidwells wanted a community that had a lot of churches, had a lot of soccer opportunities, their kids love soccer, and a good Parks and Rec department, so they chose Lancaster. And so in 1980, they moved the franchise here in Lancaster to 6th Avenue. But then in 2002, Todd George, current owner, purchased the franchise from them. And in 2004, he bought a building that's on Mulberry Street, and that's where the franchise is located currently. I'm Jay Johnson, General Manager of Service Master Clean by Todd George, where we guarantee if it's not done right the first time, we'll do it again.
Service Master Clean by Todd George, 740-687-1077, 740-687-1077.